From a truck driver's point of view, is there a difference in driving a Cat versus a Cummins, or are they pretty much the same as a driver?
Well, if you're apples for apples and the power's the same, I mean, if you're talking C15 and a big cam, you're going to have more power than C15, obviously, because there's more liters there. But if you're kind of apples for apples, there is probably one main difference, and that's the throttle type. Cat has a variable speed throttle. Cummins has an automotive throttle, they call it. The difference between those is automotive throttle is the best way to describe it. It's like driving your car. Like, the more you want to go, the more throttle you got to give it. Whereas a variable speed throttle, if you've driven a tractor, is the easiest way to explain. If you haven't, that makes it a little harder, but a tractor has a throttle up on the steering column. If you pull that throttle down, let's just say a quarter of the throttle or even half, if you've driven a tractor much, you'll know that when you start getting a load on that or you start going up a hill, that tractor just sits there and goes trying to keep that particular RPM set. If you've tried to give it more throttle without getting a gear, you've probably noticed that there isn't any more left. You put it at halfway, you're halfway up the hill, the thing's just going and going, you want to give it more throttle and you pull it down and there's nothing else left. And that's kind of how the variable speed works. You set that throttle at halfway or 3/4 going up a hill, that variable speed is going to add power, torque on its own to try and keep that set speed. You know, we've had guys say, hey, when I pull this hill in my Cat, you know, I only have to go 3/4 throttle, or my Cummins, I have to put it to the floor to get the same response, I guess. And that's because of the variable speed throttle. So if you're at 3/4 throttle and you're going up the hill and you're pulling for a while, if you notice, you go to the floor and you don't have anything left because that variable speed has already taken up that throttle. So it's just a different way of driving. When you're used to it, you're used to it. You know, a guy that drives a Cat a lot of his life doesn't want to drive a Cummins, and the same vice versa. I do know in the Insight in the Cummins computer, you can change that throttle to a variable speed to make it, you know, run more like a Cat. But that's pretty much the main differences as far as the throttle is concerned. If you got the same horsepower, that's what you would notice. You know, you can hold your throttle and you think you got more left, but generally you don't. Like them both, it's just really what you're used to. Hopefully that makes some sense and helps you understand why your throttle acts the way it does.